G2 lost to Phoenix because PRX played their signature aggressive style and forced G2 to make mistakes. They had really good util timings that caused a mistake you'll see here. Phoenix is getting set up to flash out of the brick smoke, and Fade ends up throwing an eye that forces G2 to try to dodge it and get into the smoke. But if G2 hadn't tried to dodge a Fade eye, they would be hit by the flash eye combo. They would either have to turn away from the flash so they would get scanned, or they would break the eye and get flashed. They tried to dodge the eye and ended up being lazy about clearing the smoke. The eye let Jinggg know exactly where to put his crosshair, and it let him get an easy frag. The flash eye just kind of makes it difficult for G2 to do anything but go into the smoke, and if they don't clear it perfectly, it ends up costing them a couple frags. Phoenix and Fade keep pushing after these frags because they had two teammates flanking lobby. It's just pretty hard to deal with. So that's one of the util combos they were using. Their util combos were pretty on point in general. So in this round, Forsaken and Something are anchoring the C bomb site, buying enough time for Fade and Phoenix to do almost the same thing. Fade throws her eye, it lands on top of C. Jinggg is going to flash. He pops his ult, and notice what Trent does. He reacts to the Phoenix ult voice line, and he turns because he's expecting a flash coming from the smoke because he heard the ult voice line, and at the same time, the eye is scanning. So he's getting scanned by the eye, and he's also reacting to the Phoenix voice line, and he's just turning away from the smoke instead of shooting the eye. And that gives Envy a free frag because he gets fully scanned. Phoenix is just running out. He's just another body to trade. G2 could have done a better job having an eye breaker in this situation. Trent is obviously overstimulated because of the ult going off, the eye going off. He's worried about a flash. He's worried about the flutters. It's just a lot for him to handle. Now, this 1v2 after the flood with a flash eye is pretty insane because he understands that G2 know that he's isolated over here, and once Jinggg flashes and gets the information, he knows exactly what he needs to do with his util. So he throws his Phoenix wall. He knows that Valen just TP'd backside because he's heard it probably, and he knows that when he flashed, he saw Baby Bay playing an emo, and he's throwing a wall because most good teams are going to have Baby Bay hold contact and Valen's supposed to swing off of him, right? So he's throwing the wall to cut off the crossfire to force Baby Bay to move forward, and he's aware that Valen can be holding him. So he jiggles the first angle. He knows that Baby Bay probably moved up in front of the wall, and what most good players are going to do is they're going to try to make it a 2v1 situation and swing together. He knows that Valen is trying to inch out wider to line up with Baby Bay, and he isolates him before Baby Bay can get the chance to actually double up with Valen. Then he's expecting Baby Bay to be right here. He jiggles him again. He mollies so that Baby Bay can't actually push him and isolate him, and so he can buy time for Devi. Once he mollies the ground, he knows that Baby Bay is also not going to be the most aware of his push because Baby Bay is like, oh, this guy just mollied. That means he's probably not going to push me, or he's probably just chilling, and he punishes him for looking away. This situation just shows Jingg's mastery with his agent, and it's incredible because he knew exactly what G2 were going to do the entire time in that 2v1. This is another round that PRX have good util timings between Fade and Phoenix. Fade is throwing her Fade Eye for the retake. Jaw is trying to dodge the eye. He gets lazy about clearing a smoke, similar to a brick situation. Jinggg is flashing with the eye at the same time, but Giacomo got unlucky and Jinggg punishes him. Trent gets flash and he's trying to timing the other flash. He hears the ult go off and he can't shoot the dog while he's also dodging the flash. And Jinggg and Fade's util timing is so good because if he had turned the flash, then he would get dogged. But in this instance, he's just sitting there trying to shoot the dog, so he gets flashed, and it's just an almost uncounterable situation. He's in a rough spot, to be honest. Now, PRX could have played this later situation a little bit better if they had a tether molly combo for the guy in Cubby, and if Jinggg had thrown a better wall and he didn't wall himself off. But their util timings were pretty on point up to this point, even though they could have played the situation better. In this round, G2 take garage space, throw a mid default, and Phoenix is really good at retaking garage. Like all of his utils is insane at garage, the flash, the molly, the wall. He can force people out of the garage with even one bit of additional util. And if you look at garage, they have an Astra Star at the entrance, and after G2 take garage, somebody on PRX is calling to retake garage. They use this Astra Star as a stun and combine it with the Phoenix Flash to clear garage, Jinggg figures that nobody went through the right side of garage as he cleared it, and Forsaken is aware of the timing. But the C players are pushed all the way down long C. They don't see anything, and they're calling, yo, we just cleared garage, there's nobody C, they're probably going to end A. You'll see Forsaken start sprinting towards A. G2 end up doing this pretty cool ult play. They did this a couple times in this game where they fade ulted the site, and if there was nobody on site, Valen would TP into Graffiti, and they combined a Vise Molly and a Viper Molly into the Viper Orb to punish anybody that's trying to frag him. But because of the aggro push C and the fact that G2 didn't really force them off C or find out if anybody was actually pushed behind the wall at C that they put down, PRX have this super fast flank that causes a lot of issues for G2 because it pulls Giacomo and Baby Bay's attention a lot. And this is important because in this post plant, they end up in a 2v4, but because they got their attention pulled, nobody was fighting the same thing at once. You have two people fighting a flank, you have one person planting the bomb, you have Valen sitting in a vulnerable spot at Graffiti, he gets 2v1'd. It's just pretty poorly played from G2. But one of the big factors in this round is Jingg's util usage. He mollies default to force Trent to swing. Giacomo should have swung through the wall to trade or fight with Trent, but he was scared of somebody holding the wall from heaven, so he didn't swing. I think he should have swung because it was definitely your best chance to win, but he just got scared. I'm not sure what happened, probably a miscomm. After he frags Trent from mauling him off default, he flashes out of heaven, punishes the Hell player. He drops behind default, so it's harder for Giacomo to trade him. Giacomo swings through the wall, even though he didn't swing the first time. And eventually he swings wide enough, whose positioning made Giacomo be more committed and allowed Divide to trade him. The entire time, Divide is holding short because he knows that Baby Bay was fighting flank from short earlier, and he ends up fragging Baby Bay after he trades Giacomo. Now, G2 are in a tough spot because they're down 7-0 after this 2v4 retake that they definitely should not have lost. They were split in what they were fighting, and they just weren't on the same page at all. G2 just get pretty flustered at this point of the game, and they feel like they kind of need to take fights. They're losing every duel that they're taking, and they kind of need something to go their way. But PRX have very good util combos, little flash setups to enable their playstyle. They have a Yoru and a Phoenix to flash for their chamber/fade. They have a good set util combo with Phoenix and Fade. It's just pretty difficult to play against. G2 had just taken a timeout, and after this timeout, it's pretty rough because it feels like they were actually set up for this aggro play, and I think it was a good timeout by Josh RT, but their players just got kind of lazy and flustered from the last round, or they lost a round that they should never have lost. Something flashes for Divide to peek, and you hear the Vise Thorn that just landed at garage. It's supposed to pop and let you know if somebody's aggressively peeking like this. And there's also a Vise Flash that is supposed to be popped as well before you really swing. But Valen swung before any of the util went off because he heard the flash that Yoru threw, and he knows that somebody's going to be peeking behind the flash. And instead of just waiting for the util and actually swinging with the teammate or coordinating a high-low peek with Vise, he just swung by himself, and he's just getting a little bit lazy about what he's doing. Now, I could be wrong. He could have just assumed that it would be a rifle peek or something, but I just think this is kind of a lazy mistake when you know there's an op in play. At mid-window, G2 seemed to be playing for the high chance that Yoru isn't going to be on this pix angle that punishes this deeper flash, and he's able to end up dodging the flash. He's sitting too shallow for this flash that popped over here in the middle of window to actually hit him, and he hits this insane shot. He reflashes out, and it's just pretty hard for G2 to deal with at this point. They're already down 3v5. And at the same time, these two A players are like, okay, well, there's a lot of noise mid. They did a mid default or whatever. And we know Leaf popped our chamber trip short earlier, so we're going to push lobby and cut him off. And the util timings are very well played because as soon as the smoke is fading, Jinggg probably called to pull this Astrostar, and it leaves Baby Bay surprised. And I feel like he loses his gunfight because this Astrostar pull is completely catching him off guard as the smoke is fading. Once the Astra Star pull works, Fade is holding short. Leaf is trying to trade a Phoenix, and he swings not even looking at the Fade, and then they both swing him together. Yoru is actually getting more aggressive to pinch these people in lobby, and they're just strangling G2. They're not leaving them any room to breathe. Even after the two people got fragged in mid, they're still moving forward, and they're like, you have to force us off this space because you need to, and you haven't been able to. So why are we going to stop going forward? Earlier in the half, Chamber gets on this line at A in front of the Viper wall, and he's like, okay, well, G2 open here, but I don't really see anything. I think they just left Omen at long. And Fade's like, all right, well, since you don't see anything, I'm just going to keep walking up because I don't see anything. And they know that Omen could be out long. You see Fade looking at long. And this is where it gets kind of unlucky because Valen is in the long cubby and he can kind of see this corner of lobby on his minimap or in his peripheral. And to his teammates, it looks like it's clear. But as soon as he turns away, the Viper wall goes up and Valen looks away. And this gives Fade this infinitely small timing that I feel like is actually unlucky more than G2 being lazy. And Envy just gets away with murder. At this point, the crowd's getting fired up. Forsaken's just playing with this food. And that is why G2 got a little bit sloppy in this game. I feel like it's pretty difficult for them to deal with PRX playing so aggressive because G2's comp isn't the best at clearing all the space they need to. They only have 3 pieces of info util in Fade, and wherever you're going becomes really telegraphed because if you're not winning dry fights, PRX's comp completely counters his comp. Phoenix, Chamber, and Yoru are made to contest spaces and punish this comp completely. They play in front of the Viper wall. They completely disrespect any of the util until you force them off with perfect util usage. And if you don't peak a team like PRX with perfect util usage, what happened in a couple of these rounds will continue to happen. If you don't deal with them at short A and force them off of in front of the wall, then they're going to have all the space lobby and know exactly where you're going every round. If you don't force them off C long, you saw a couple times that something in Forsaken ended up walking down C long, then you're going to lose a round because they're going to know that you're going to BRA. And they're going to know where you're going at all times. So that's why G2 lost to Phoenix.